All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So thank you all for joining us today for Homework's first Spark and Share Tuesday. Through these sessions, we just hope to shine a light on the transformational impact of homeworks in classrooms across our region. So together with our partner schools and tremendously committed administration, staff, teachers, we're working together to build literacy, math skills, and attendance for students, just doing that one family at a time. As we're going through the presentation and discussion today, if you have any questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. Catherine will be monitoring that, and we'll go ahead and get to them at the end of this session. So please just make sure to drop them in the chat for us. So I'm sure we've all seen, the headlines about our nation's learning loss crisis, and especially how it's been exacerbated by the pandemic. And I wonder, did you know that St. Louis, though, was ranked in the top 5 of regions in the nation when it came to pandemic learning loss? So it's going to take our entire community rallying around the next generation in order to help to close this gap. And here at Homeworks, we believe that parents are one of the greatest, most consistent, cost-effective, and impactful resources that children have. And so we are excited to just be able to invite them in to the education space. So I'm Colleen Polak, the CEO of Homeworks, and I could not be more thrilled to introduce one of those school leaders who is working to bring parents closer into that education space, who first joined with Homeworks for the 2021-2022 school year, Dr. Tyler Archer. Dr. Archer is the proud principal of Earl Nance Elementary in St. Louis Public Schools. Under Dr. Archer's leadership, Nance recently received the Missouri School of Character Award, which is a prestigious award recognizing how the implementation of character education has a positive impact on academic achievement, student behavior, and school climate. So congratulations to Dr. Archer and all the staff and everyone at Nance for that tremendous achievement. After graduating from DePauw University, Teach for America selected Dr. Archer as a core member and placed him in a St. Louis classroom. And so he's been with St. Louis Public Schools ever since, earning his master's in education from UMSL and his doctor of education from Maryville, where he also is an adjunct professor. So he's a busy guy. And finally rising up to the level of principal in 2022. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Archer to join us today and have this conversation.
Thanks, Colleen. It's great to be here. I'm looking forward to being able to talk to you about the great things that Homeworks does in partnership with our school staff and the ways that our partnership has impacted students in our community in a meaningful way.
Right. Well, we're so thrilled to have you. Thank you for saying yes to coming on today. So for those of you who don't know, Homeworks is in our 3rd year of partnership with Nance Elementary. And so Dr. Archer, what made you as the principal say yes to this program? When I came to you 3 years ago to introduce this idea and bringing this to Nance, what made you want to say yes? What did you hope would happen?
So I looked at the Nance community as one where we were in a process of change and doing a lot of dynamic things that I thought were going to be impactful for our families and our students. And so what I saw what Homeworks could bring was something that could be part of a broader, scope of initiatives and things that we wanted to do to really focus our school and our students around a sense of building belonging and connection with one another and then between the school and home, but also how do we really provide high quality academic instruction where we are using parents and drawing on the funds of knowledge from the home and leveraging our families as partners in that work. And so Homeworks fit a need that we had, and it was an opportunity to bring in some expertise to provide teachers with additional training and development and really leadership opportunities to help them grow and develop their practice as well.
So you mentioned the importance of bringing in parents. Why, from your perspective as a principal, did you find that it was important to get parents more deeply involved in their children's education and in the school community?
We know that our parents are their child's first teacher. We also know that our parents play and their families play such a tremendous role in the shaping and forming of our students at home. And we always want to be seen as working with families, not working against them or working in opposition to what they try to do. And we know that it's important for schools and families to be on the same page with how they support their children. And so for me, when I think about why we would do something like Homeworks, it was in order to really give our teachers the tools and the ideas that they may need to be able to bridge some of those gaps and make those connections. teachers have a lot on their plate. They have a lot of obligations and a lot of expectations on them just from the school day and the things that they do to prepare instruction for their kids. And although they know that family involvement is super critical and important, they don't always have the time to dedicate to it in a meaningful way, in the way that we would want to see it, to really build those bridges. And so homeworks was a way to provide some opportunities for them to see some things that needed to happen for their practice to change around, not necessarily to do things differently, but how do we formalize some things? How do we put some structures in place to make parental engagement something that happens not just at our parent-teacher conferences, but ways that go deeper and are more ongoing?
And so you've talked about, again, like going deeper, more ongoing, but also there's some challenges around that, and having that put into place. So you talk some about time being a challenge, capacity being a challenge. So how specifically has Homeworks been able to help you and help the school community and help those teachers who are participating in the Homeworks program to overcome some of those challenges?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So a lot of this comes to the partnership and the professional development work and support that we do. Anna Gardner Andrews, who works with our staff and our teachers, has done an excellent job of really, pushing them and pushing their thinking and ideas around how they can engage parents fully in the process of their child's education. We know our parents want to be involved. They really want to do the things that they need to do to support their kids with learning. And you have to start with that mindset. The goal of any kind of partnership is how do we work together to achieve a shared outcome. And so in the case of working with our parents through Homeworks, it's around how do we equip both our teachers and parents with the tools that they need, because we all have a shared common goal of our kids being successful.
And so you mentioned several times like Anna, who is the program leader. So she's a Homework staff member who is embedded with the teachers at Nance. Not only do we have the program leaders providing like initial training at the beginning of the year, but that ongoing support and tools and coaching, for a sense, goes on throughout the school year and even from year over year as teachers continue to participate in the program. Is that common in professional development opportunities that you've seen for your teachers, or is this something different that Homeworks is able to provide?
I think what's different about the way the Homeworks approach has contributed to our success in this area is that it is so ongoing, and it's something that is embedded in what the work that the teachers are doing with parents and with families. So we have to shift and sort of adjust our strategies as we need to. And as the years have changed, I've had some teachers who have been a part of the program for the 3 full years we've been working with Homeworks, and then some who have just started in the last 2 years. And so our approach often has to change and be tailored to those teachers' experiences and what they need. And so having someone who is being in charge of some of those, I say like logistical pieces and really the thought pieces around like, what do we need to do to be effective in this way, takes the lift off of our teachers in a lot of ways, because it gives them some framework and some structures to do it. They're still implementing and enacting and following through on what we need to do, but we're allowing them the space to do the work that's really the most important, which is the relationship building, going and visiting families, creating the materials that will engage the students that they know, because it's nothing that's being done out of that context. But having somebody like Anna as a program leader who knows how to facilitate those dialogues, but then also knows what needs to happen on the logistical side to make the practices effective, really frees them up and allows them to have the time and focus that they need to be successful.
So for those teachers, you mentioned that you have some teachers who are in their 3rd year with the program, some in their 2nd. What changes, if any, have you seen with those teachers over their long-term participation with the Homeworks program?
I mean, I see a couple of things. I think, first of all, it's a willingness to push themselves and to deepen their thinking and their work around how they engage parents, and to be creative in ways that maybe they hadn't thought of before. I also see a sense of confidence and renewed enthusiasm about engaging parents as partners. Unfortunately, a lot of our school training programs and things that the teachers go through in their undergraduate experiences don't necessarily prepare them for as much of the family engagement as we'd like to see. So oftentimes parents and teachers, they know that they need to work together, and teachers know they need to work with parents, but maybe they don't have the tools or the strategies that they need. So giving them those skills and helping develop those is really important as well.
Great. So we've talked a lot about the teachers, and obviously that's, what you're seeing every single day and how teachers are interacting with students in classrooms and with families. Now, I want to shift a little bit and look at from the parent side. Since Nance has started participating with the Homeworks program, and over these 3 years, and having our events at school and those family dinners and those parent-teacher workshops, we're inviting families into the school in a different way than like the parent-teacher conferences, like you talked about before, which are still happening. But have you seen any kind of shift in how the parents are interacting with the school or approaching the Nance community?
What I hear from parents that are involved in the Homeworks program is that they just feel a sense of support that is really deeply connected to knowing their child as an individual, knowing their needs and their strengths, and setting goals. They appreciate the attention and the care that the teachers give to them through this program. They see the impact that it has when they have those conversations around goals and the progress the students have made, when they get to see from the teacher perspective, like this is the growth that your child is making, and the students can own that progress. I think that's where, when we talk about utilizing any kind of partnerships and programs, Homeworks is a prime example of where, when you're seeking to build a school culture and a community that is focused on belonging, focused on empowerment, like programs that uplift people and then also make connections are really crucial. And when I talk to parents, like I have parents in classrooms that are non-homework classrooms that maybe they have one child in one and then another child in a non-homework classroom. And they always want to know, like, how can we do this for every single teacher? How can we get every single teacher involved in it? And we know all of our teachers, again, we talked about this, are busy, and not everybody can obligate themselves to what's necessary to be involved in the way that maybe those parents might like for every child to get that experience. But I always hear about how proud they are to just know that the teachers and the staff deeply care about their children, but also have a really clear understanding and a vision for how to support them and moving forward.
I love that. Like, parents are feeling seen and heard. The teachers are feeling seen and heard too. So it sounds like it really is like working with this program really is helping build those relationships based on trust and transparency and partnership, where they can really work together to support the student, which is what we want to see. So love to hear that that's happening. So that's really great news. So love to hear that. Yeah, what about students? So we've talked about teachers, we've talked about parents. What about the kids? We're doing all of this so that kids have the opportunities to thrive, to grow, so that they can lead lives of their choosing. So what kind of things do you see happening with students who are in the classrooms that are participating in homeworks?
So our students are so excited about the opportunities to engage with teachers in these other ways. They get really proud about opportunities when they get to do home visits and they get to see them. It's something about seeing your teacher not at school gets them excited. It's like when they go to the library, they go to McDonald's, they go do a home visit, like that's something that's exciting to them. And it shows that the teacher is taking an extra step to build a relationship with them, because not every teacher that they have had has had that type of connection. And so I think really that when you hear it from kids and then you do it, they of course love being able to come up for the events, the activities. I know things like the family dinner, we always have a ton of parents and students come, and they are proud of and excited about their school. And so when you have an opportunity for them to come and show their parents, this is where I go to school, this is the cafeteria that I'm in, these are my teachers, these are other people that maybe you that work in the school that you don't know. Anytime you can foster those kinds of things, it helps anytime to, you're going to have conversations to build those relationships, because you never know when it might be time that you have to have a difficult conversation or work with a family on something that's a challenge. And when you have this foundational base of trust, and they know, I always tell our teachers that our kids go home and they tell their parents about their experiences at school. And that's where we start. Like, that's where our relationship starts with our families, is that experience that they have. And so they are our best spokespeople for the work that we do and the great work that we do here at our school. And so knowing that, it's leveraging that power that they have to go home and tell about the great things, and then bringing the parents into those activities and events. And so when I see the kids out there talking about how proud they are of their school, or how excited they are to have a home visit and some of those things, it tells me about how important it is that we continue to create those types of opportunities for engagement that are deep.
And some of those things you talked about, creating these opportunities for engagement, specifically around, home visits with classroom teachers and the family dinners and the workshops happening in school. Were those types of things that were happening at Nance prior to your involvement with Homeworks, or able to even happen?
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, prior to me being here, we've been through COVID. I came July of 2020, so we weren't doing much of that, which is why a great opportunity to start a partnership at that time, which we could really get engaged in doing some of that work at a time when people were clamoring to get back into schools and get back into face-to-face engagement opportunities and other things. So way we were able to utilize Homeworks really was that springboard to a transition in the post-pandemic experience for our families. And so we've seen it in more and more as, we started with a lot of virtual home visits, but then things, gradually over time improved to where more of our families were getting visits face to face in their home and in their community. And so for us, it was an opportunity to really build on what we saw as an opportunity coming out of COVID to redefine the experience that our families and our students have with us.
Great. And so given we're coming to the end of our third school year in partnership with Nance, so you're very familiar with everything that has happened in the school. What do you see now as next? Like, we spent 3 years kind of building up capacity and training the teachers and supporting them. What do you see as looking forward for Homeworks to continue to contribute to the success of not just Nance, but St. Louis Public Schools as a whole and just our educational community?
I think that's a great question and thought about how you move forward in the future. We know that our teachers at a certain point, like, we also need to develop more teachers. And so right now, a third of my classroom teachers have gone through the fellows program. So opportunities to either bring in more teachers to get that experience, or a way for those teachers to continue to develop and hone their skills in a way maybe without having to fully commit to a fellowship type program that takes a lot more time. I think the other thing is really that we know that we will keep are some of the structures that we use to engage our families and the ways that we utilize things like the parent teacher workshops. We've already done versions of those with our other classrooms, a couple of our other grade level classrooms that were not necessarily in a Homeworks format, but a way that we could similarly, sort of meet our parents with the needs that they have. We know we have parents who want to be involved, get them face to face with teachers, and then provide an opportunity for them to sit with their child's teacher, learn about what things that they can do to be have a positive impact. So I think we see the ripple effects, and we certainly know that with continued practice and continued refining the work that we do, that we will have no problem really continuing in the spirit of the work that we've been doing and learned through our experience with Homeworks.
Yeah, well, we're excited to continue to work with you in that experience too, and really expand the schools that we're serving, the families that we're serving, and especially, the students who are receiving the benefit of this program. So thank you for sharing all of that and being just such an amazing supporter and so committed to the success of Homeworks within Nance. It really makes a difference for us. We have such an amazing and committed leader at the schools we're working with. So we're very grateful for that. So at this time, I'm just going to turn it over to Catherine. There were some questions that were dropped in the chat from the audience, and so that she can go ahead and bring those to you.
Yeah, we have a question from Michael for Dr. Archer. Give us a specific example of how Homeworks programs made an impact for a particular student, parent, or teacher, and how that made a difference.
That's a really great question. And there's a lot of individual stories and things that we can highlight. I think the first that I'm drawn to is I have teachers who have worked in the program for several years. And in some cases, I have one particular teacher who's worked with the students over most of the students over 2 consecutive years because she moved up a grade level. And so I think about that experience with that teacher working with students. What I hear from the parents is that they feel, and that with this thing about a student in particular, that the teacher understands and knows what it is that their child really has needed and was somebody who was struggling, back when they were in first grade, and now that they're in second grade, they've really shown a lot of tremendous growth. And so I think about that parent's experience. I also think about one of my third grade teachers who had a workshop where they sat and worked with strategies around how to help support their children with reading at home, and just the way that the parent and the student so really deeply connected to that opportunity, and then took that on at home, and then we're so excited to relay that back to the teacher and the school staff around this is what we're doing and this is the progress we're making. These are great teachers. I have really good staff and good people who are working and leading our students. At the same time, when you're able to foster those types of things that are more deep, that's when you get those opportunities. And so that's your goal. You, of course, hope every student that goes to that program has a transformative experience and a connection with the teacher and really builds that relationship in a way that allows their learning to continue in a much further way that will have even impacts beyond just the time they're with a Homeworks teacher or in our building.
Yeah, great. We also have a question from Joe. You talked about challenges getting teachers to commit to extra programs. What has worked at Nance to get teachers to commit to Homeworks?
So I think there's a couple of things. One, I think when teachers see your work, I think if you make connections that work for teachers and they understand how doing something like a program like Homeworks contributes to their larger goals and their larger efforts. So whether, that's for some of our teachers, that's to develop really foundational skills and engaging with parents. For others, it's how do you make that homeschool academic connection? For some, it's a leadership opportunity. There's opportunities for the teachers who participate in this to develop and hone leadership skills as well. So it's having to be able to contextualize that for them and say, hey, this is where we are. When I mean, Colleen talked about how I said yes to Homeworks. One of the reasons I said yes to Homeworks was I asked my staff if they wanted to say yes to Homeworks first. And so I didn't say to them, this is something we're going to do and I need people to sign up. I said, this is an opportunity that we have. Would you be willing to do this? Who is interested in this? And then from there, we sought out our teachers who wanted to apply. I think the great thing about the way the Fellows program has been structured is it does financially compensate the teachers well for their work. We know there's a lot of work that has to be done outside of the workday. There's a lot of time and expectation on our teachers, and they're compensated for that. I think showing that it's not, teachers don't always do it for those reasons. It certainly helps in terms of being a way to motivate somebody to do it, but it shows a sense of respect and it shows a sense of ownership around, like, we see the work that you're doing as important and that we're committed to you and we're going to do this for you. And so I think it takes a lot of things. I also think you have to always make sure that whenever you're leading, that it's with intention and you know that, now is the right time or now is not the right time. And then does this fit into the larger vision that I have for our school and that our community has for the school? And so when they can see those things, it makes them more likely to get committed to it. I know this past year, we had more teachers interested in the Fellows program than we could actually, staff reasonably. And so we had a limit on the number that we could have. And so that's something that to me says that the work is being really purposeful for them and they're seeing the impact and how the work will help them develop their practice and improve their family student relationships.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Okay, I think we have time for one more question. Kelly asks, what would you say is the percent of families participation / engagement, and has this grown each year?
So I'm going to take that from the percentage of really families sort of engaged in the process. So right now, I would say we have 6 teachers who are fellows in the program, and as a result of that, they serve what I would say they serve about 30 to 35% of the families that we have in our school. So you do see some overlap. So I couldn't want to give a specific number and say it's definitely everyone, but we have teachers that run the range of grades from first grade up through older grade levels. So I think it was 2nd grade teacher, 5th grade teacher, special educator. So people who touch families that have children in other classrooms as well. So it's a high number, but I would say directly impacting in terms of students is about 35%.
Oh,
All right, well, it's great questions. Thank you all for participating and asking those questions. It's pretty inspiring stuff. I think that, this is hard work. This is really labor intensive work, but it's really important work. And I think Dr. Archer's really helped us highlight just how important building up schools' infrastructure and capacity to have strong parent and family engagement programs and relationships with home can change the experience for students and teachers, not just for students, but for the teachers as well. And those are the types of things that are going to, continue into the future. And like Dr. Archer said, beyond the Homeworks program. So we're excited to see that because ultimately that's what you want to see. We want to be able to come in, provide resources, tools, infrastructure, support, build capacity of schools, and then be able to let them run with it so we can go help another school. So excited to hear that happening in Nance. So if you'd like to learn more about the importance of parent and family engagement and advancing children's academic success and how Homeworks fits in, here's some ways that you can do that. First, you can always check out our website, teacherhomevisit.org. There's information about our different programs, the schools that we're in, and we also do have a news and blog section. So up on that section, there's a blog that I recently wrote in response to the White House brief on their educational agenda for 2024, and just talking about the importance of making sure that we center families when we're talking about, in their experience, when we're talking about education and how we're going to work to catch kids up and close the achievement and opportunity gaps for kids. Another great way to stay informed is to follow us on social media. So we're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Always a great way to follow us. And that keeps you up to date on our different events. We share articles, we share information, we share pictures from our events. So you can go back and scroll through and see some of these activities happening in action, and what it looks like to participate in homeworks from a family and a teacher perspective. Also would love for you to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm often at these events, so I'm able to post different things and put up pictures and videos of the program. So always happy to connect and even talk and schedule a meeting or have a visit, just so we can talk more about homeworks and you can learn more about our program, how it works, the different components and the impact that we're having for students. And finally, homeworks provides all of this professional development, the coaching, the tools, the majority of the stipends that are paid to teachers. We provide all of that to schools at no cost, because we know the importance of being able to provide this type of support for schools in our region. And many of the schools that we support don't have the resources or capacity to bring this in on their own. So we're very proud to be able to say yes to schools who do not have the financial resources to put this in place themselves. But so with that, that means we have to raise the money to do it. And one of those ways we do that is we are about to have our second annual Unlock the Power of Home campaign. So on April 2nd, this is a 24-hour online campaign, and it's a matching campaign. And so we're able to make this happen, this great work like that with Dr. Archer and Nance Elementary, through campaigns like this and through the amazing donors and supporters that we have. Those matchers like Regions Bank, Dot Foods, Pulcinelli, Nina Needleman, the Tracy Family Foundation, and the Estelle W. and Karen Kalish Fund are all generous matchers for this campaign. And so if you're interested in supporting homeworks in that way or learning more about us, you can go to this link, or better yet, follow us on social media, because we will be posting many things. We have testimonials from teachers about their impact with the program that you'll be able to see as part of this campaign. And as I said, it's matching, which means every dollar you give would be quadrupled during the campaign. So if you give $28 to provide learning supplies to one student, that means we will be able to provide that to 4 students. So it's a really impactful, win-win, exciting opportunity if you are interested in supporting homeworks. All right, so that wraps up today's session. Thank you all for joining us to learn more about homeworks. Special thanks to Dr. Archer for sharing his experience with our program. Keep an eye out for future opportunities. We plan to share perspectives of teachers and parents in the future who've participated in the homeworks program so that they can share their perspective and the impact that the program has had for them. So stay tuned. We'll share out the link to this recording in case you want to share it with anybody else in your network. And follow us on social media. Check out our website, teacherhomevisit.org, and hope you all have a great day. Take care, everyone, and thanks for coming.